A big thanks to VILTROX for sponsoring this video. Now before we start, I do want to make clear that this video is technically sponsored, so this is not going to be a review, it is going to be more of an overview. With that said, fans of the channel will probably realize that we have done these in the past, and we still try to give our honest opinions, pros and cons, and all that sort of stuff. We do not work with brands that do not let us do that. The DCA1 is VILTROX's brand new 7-inch ultra bright monitor, and when we say ultra bright, we mean it. It goes all the way up to 2800 nits. So when we look at this monitor, you are getting a 7-inch full HD screen, although we will note that you can feed it a 4K signal over the HDMI and it'll down convert, allowing you to do a pixel-to-pixel zoom in for focus checking, which we really like. It's an IPS display, so we have found colors are pretty good, but it is worth noting that it is only 8-bit, whereas a lot of other more expensive monitors will be 8-bit with FRC to get it up to 10-bit. Now with that said, we didn't notice in our testing any significant banding and stuff like that, and we found the colors actually look really good. There is a fan, and it is audible, but it's not too bad. We don't think that it's going to be a problem for most people. The unit comes with a really cool carrying case that resembles a Switch carrying case, but it's pretty much a hard bag with zips on the outside, and it's got everything inside that you will need. It comes with a tilting hot shoe mount, and they include a little NPF-style battery with USB charging, which is awesome, and you can buy more on their website. In the box, you also get a screen protector, which is nice to see, and a folding sun hood, which is probably the killer feature in my opinion. It resembles the type of hood that you'll find on an FX6. It just slides on really easily, it's spring-loaded, and it opens just like that. The best part about it is that it protects the screen when you're not using it. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about this monitor's build quality and the physical features. To start with, the whole thing is made out of plastic, which obviously isn't going to be quite as durable as something made out of metal, but, you know, on a monitor this price, it is acceptable, and it also means that it is fairly lightweight, which is kind of nice. On the top, you get a back button as well as 4 user-programmable function keys and a full-size USB-A port for loading stuff like custom LUTs, which this monitor does support. On the side, we do have a 1/4-inch threaded mount as well as locating pins. On the bottom, we have a DC in as well as a USB-C in, which can power the monitor. We have a headphone out, another 1/4-inch thread mount with locating pins, a HDMI out, and an HDMI in. Lastly, on this side, we have a power switch and a big knob for controlling the menus. It is clickable and scrollable. Now, the knob can be used to work your way through the menus, but the monitor is also a touchscreen, which we probably find a lot easier to use, and to be honest, the knob is very large, and I think Taylor and I would probably have liked to see a version without the knob and another mounting point on the side so you can mount a cage all around it. But anyways, the knob is there for those that don't like to use touchscreens. Speaking of the touchscreen, let's talk a little bit about the menu. What we have here is a fairly feature-rich menu for a monitor in this price range. You have all the normal assist tools, as well as some stuff that we are actually quite excited to see. To start with, you get 2 flavors of false color and a bunch of other assist tools like zebras, focus peaking, all that sort of stuff, histograms. Importantly for us, we're anamorphic shooters. There are multiple anamorphic modes, all the popular ones, and a zoom mode so that you can zoom in to the correct aspect ratio instead of seeing all the extra bits, which not a lot of monitors have, not a lot of cameras have, barely any. It's actually a feature that I've asked Blackmagic to include on their video assists for, I don't know, probably 2 years ago now, and they still haven't. So to see VILTROX have a feature like that is just awesome. Now, VILTROX is relatively new to the monitor game, so we're not going to say it has everything in there. There could always be more features, but we'd say that you have everything in there that you need, plus a little bit extra, and that's pretty cool. One thing that I do want to mention though when it comes to the menu is that by default, you touch the right-hand side of the screen and drag up to adjust the brightness of the backlight, and on the left-hand side, you touch and drag to adjust the volume. And that's actually something that I wish that we could disable individually. Look, it's easy to bump, and then you're accidentally controlling the brightness or the sound, and you could even ruin a take if you hear camera sound. Hopefully they can update the menu to include a toggle option to turn that feature off. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about this monitor's image quality. If you've seen our recent Portkeys review, you will know that image quality on monitors is something that we take quite seriously because it's the main purpose of the device. Out of the box, we found the image to be pleasing and punchy, but probably a little bit too contrasty, but thankfully you can adjust that in the menus. There's actually a fair bit of tweakability. It may only be 8-bit, but we didn't notice any significant banding or distracting artifacts, which is really cool. Now we will note that this screen's contrast ratio isn't particularly high, so especially in the shadows, we've noticed that things tend to wash out to grey a little bit sooner than we'd like. However, that's fairly common for ultra bright screens, and especially in the cheaper price ranges. You might find that turning the screen's backlight down a little bit might help, especially if you don't need it. And then if you turn it up in bright sunlight, look, you're going to be needing that brightness anyway in that case. And I think probably a lot of us are going to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of image quality if you need to in those scenarios. And the last thing that we do want to talk about when it comes to this monitor's image quality is that in darker areas with extremely fast-moving subjects, we did notice a little bit of motion trails, which probably indicates that the response times on these pixels aren't particularly fast in terms of the gray-to-gray response. With that said though, we didn't really notice significant loss of sharpness and smeariness like you do get on some of the other cheaper high brightness monitors that we have seen. It's still completely usable, there's just some motion trails in those extreme dark situations. Okay, so who is this monitor for? In the end, we think this is actually a really good shout for people looking for their first on-camera monitor. It's got great features, it's high brightness, it's lightweight, it's a good size for most people, and the included hood really is something that we love. And let's be honest, it's sitting at a really attractive price point. Anyways, that just about does it here for our opinions on this monitor. If you liked what you saw, consider giving us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.